I got an order just like a few years ago. It was like a couple years ago. 17,300 soap bar order.
Are you serious?
Yes. And
how did you feel?
I thought it was a typo. Honestly, I was like, so is it
17,000?
17,300 soap bar order for a subscription box.
Wow.
And they found me because I was showing up consistently on Instagram.
Get your water and keep some wine. I should have had some wine.
With exposure, execution, and consistency, there is nothing you can't do. Just keep planting.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning back in to another episode on the Responsible Homegirl podcast. I am Kiani, the Responsible Homegirl, and this is a space that I have created so young adults can become financially responsible and wealth conscious. So if you are a true supporter, you know about my series called Think Like a Mogul, where I highlight the greatness that we have in our own backyard. So entrepreneurs who are either from South Carolina or live in South Carolina. So today I have no other than Miss Andrea Davis.
Hello.
She is the owner of Motherland Essentials, and today we are going to dig deep into her story, her business, but most importantly, her mindset and how she thinks like a mogul. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we get into all of the good stuff, I always ask my guests, can you tell me about an irresponsible financial decision that you ever made?
Okay, so when I started this business, I just quit my job. I had no plan. I had very little in savings. I really just was like, I'm just over it. And I mean, we can get more into like the specifics of why I just left, but I did leave my job with no plan, really no money, and I didn't really have an idea that I was going to start a business, so I just left. No plans, no nothing. Don't do that.
Do you regret doing that?
For me, no, because it's very me. I think I wouldn't have, the way that I am, I just would have waited until like, oh, I need this amount of money and then I could do it. And I think for me, I'm not a big planner, which is a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
But I think doing it the way that I did it really forced me to find creative ways to fund my business, and it also made me make it work. Like, you have to figure it out when you do it the way that I did it. But it's much harder. So have a plan and some money.
Right. So something powerful that just stood out to me, because a lot of people think that they have to have everything figured out before starting. But you said because you didn't, it forced you to be more creative. So can you talk about how, with the little bit of savings that you had, how were you creative in starting?
So the first thing that I realized was that I had all these big grand plans of like, I want to do this and this and this. And the reality of it is there are a lot of brands out there who only sell one product and they kill it.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I most learned is that you just have to focus on that one thing and be really, really good at it. Be an authority on that area, and then people will be looking at you like, oh, she knows what she's doing. So then when you start dropping other things, it's like, oh, okay, this is also a thing that adds to the experience of what she's already created. So I just started out with just making soap. And then I was, the natural progression of a soap maker is you make soap, you make body butter, you make all these other little things that go along with it. But instead of starting out with this whole big line of stuff where you're having to spend a lot of money on, packaging and all these expenses that just pop up, you just focus on one thing so that your expenses are kind of handled and all the unexpected things don't shock you as much. So stick to one thing when you're starting out.
Y'all, she already giving us gems, and we didn't even really start the episode yet. This is just one little piece. But to get started into her story, or to share your story, can you tell us where you're from, how you grew up, and what kind of propelled you into entrepreneurship today?
So I actually grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which, if anybody knows anything about it, which I seriously doubt, it's where, Corvette plants are made. Western Kentucky is there, WKU, and so there's really not a lot going on in terms of, like, I didn't see a lot of entrepreneurship growing up for me. Now, I will say, though, my mother's mother, my grandmother, she was really inspiring in just breaking that mold a little bit. She had an art gallery in Bowling Green. She was a writer. She wrote poetry.
Come on, Grandma.
So, I mean, like, I saw that example of it and just seeing, like, okay, there is somebody who's, like, doing what they want to do.
Right.
But largely around me, like, you know, growing up, going to school, a lot of my friends were, you know, trying to go to college and, you know, get these traditional careers and stuff like that. And none of that really interests me a lot, mainly because I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so, you don't find that a lot, that you get that freedom a lot when you're working like corporate jobs or when you're working with someone else. And so for me, it was always like, I need to find my own way. I remember in high school, we had this thing called Freshman Academy, where you basically, if you're a freshman, you're sequestered to one hallway.
Wow.
My mom used to like buy a ridiculous amount of candy, like just this big candy bowl, and it was like good candy. So I was like, we do not need all this. So I would take some of it and sell it at school in my life, because like one of the rules is like you can't have candy and stuff, and I'm like, well, I mean,
I'm gonna do what I want to do,
and I want some money, so. You know, I would like do stuff like sell candy. I just realized like early on that like if there were things that I wanted, my mother was very, very supportive of like, if you want something, then you go get it.
I love that.
And figure it out. But, you know, it's yours to get. And so all the stuff that I saw around me with people like working jobs and doing that stuff, and it looked like they didn't enjoy it. And one thing that I wanted to promise myself was whatever I was doing, I wanted to enjoy it.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's
because a lot of people are not doing things that they're enjoying. Like they're doing things simply for a paycheck.
Right. And I mean, we all have to survive at the end of the day. There's no judgment when you're just working a job and you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes your jobs are actually funding what you want.
Talk about it.
So, I mean, I don't ever advocate. You'll have entrepreneurs that are out there that's like, quit your job if you have a dream. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because just because it's your dream doesn't necessarily mean either that it's going to be something that is, you know, going to make you money or it's going to fulfill you. Because you might get into the thing that you really wanted to do and then discover like, this is not it.
Right. Or it's a very tiny part of what I actually have to do.
Exactly. So, you know, if you're working your job, stay working your job so that you can fund what you actually want to do and be comfortable. But if you do have opportunities to, you know, go after your dreams and like start your business and stuff, then, you know, explore that, do that.
Absolutely.
But be responsible. Don't.
So you were in Kentucky. Talk to me about how you got to South Carolina.
So marriage.
Okay, shout out to the husband.
Yes, me and I thank him so much because like one of the things that the reason why I am where I am is because I do have that support. Like my husband, we've been together since we were like 15, 16 years old, and it was actually like a long distance relationship. Shout out to Black Planet because that's where we met.
What's Black Planet?
Oh my God, I'm so old.
I'm like, girl,
so no, like Black Planet was like, oh my God, what can I? So it was like, now I'm gonna say like a Facebook for Black people. Okay. Basically, like you get on there and you have your little profile. Like, are you familiar with MySpace?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I didn't have a page though. But.
So okay, think MySpace meets Facebook kind of thing for Black people. Like, you know, you code your little stuff, you have your little profiles and all that kind of stuff, and you can like, it's basically like a social platform. Okay. For Black people, and so my little hot tail was like, I hate Kentucky. These guys suck. Let me look at Tennessee because it's right under us, and I just want to see. Right. So,
and this is in high school.
Mind you. And so like it was funny because like I clicked on his little profile thing. He didn't have no picture. He just had a description of himself, and he could have been lying. But me, I was like,
you was about to get catfish.
I was, but I was like, let me just see. I ain't trying to have no boyfriend. I'm just trying to see what's, whatever.
Right.
So, he has all of these descriptions, and then I see some poetry, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. because I was very much like, I'm reading all the time. That was another thing that kind of like made me feel different.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in Bowling Green, they were like, I was in band and stuff, and I did band. I was heavily into my music, but I was also like a book nerd, and I'm the girl at the party reading a book. I was a weirdo, but it was fun for me, like just to read and just to learn about different things.
Right.
And so it was interesting to see somebody else into that. So I clicked on his little profile and asked my mom to take me there, and she was like, okay.
Girl, you bold. So you asked your mom to take you to meet a man at 15.
I asked, because my mom said if you don't ask, you don't know.
That's
so
a Jew.
I asked, and I had my mom, my grandmother, and my sister with me, so I wasn't just down there by myself. But I met him and like his whole family. The first time I met him, I met his mom and brothers and sisters, and it was just like we clicked automatically. We were like, we were friends. We were like really good friends. So that's what got me here, though. So he joined the military. He was in the Marine Corps, and we moved here when we were 19. We were in Beaufort for a few years, and then when his time was up, neither one of us wanted to go back home. He didn't want to go back to Memphis. I didn't want to go back to Bowling Green, so I was like, Charleston's up the street. You know,
so let's just settle here.
Let's just try it. And we don't have any like family or connections or anything here, but it was important for us to like just, you know, start something of our own together. You know, so, you know, I think that was another thing that helped me to start this business, because I don't think I would have done it if I was back home, because it just wouldn't have been the same atmosphere for me. The really dope thing about Charleston and being here is that there are so many people, so many black people doing so many things. I didn't know what a blogger was until I got here. I mean, like influencers and all of that stuff, like we did not have that.
Just a different level of exposure.
Exactly.
And like even me, I'm from King Street, South Carolina, which is like an hour and a half away. And I grew up in a very like just very black town. Went to a black school, like, but it's very small. So the same people that I started with kindergarten from, graduating high school, those are like my people. We're family for real. So when I graduated and then go to the College of Charleston, now I'm experiencing this huge culture shock, because even though I'm only an hour and a half down the street, it's just like this is a totally
whole different world.
Right.
Yeah. Like I went to school with, I saw white people all the time. Like my whole existence was just, how do you maneuver around you? And I mean, you talking about like Kentucky. And so like when you're dealing with like the racism and like kind of the passive aggressive kind of stuff, like I had to navigate that a lot when I was younger. And so moving up here, you see all these black people with businesses. Like I would walk in stores and I wouldn't see no black people owning anything. And I mean, now in Bowling Green it's getting a lot better, because I feel like, you know, there's a sense of awakening, like in this pride of like ownership and having access to the information to get these things. And that was a big thing that, you know, growing up I wasn't exposed to. So being here, actually seeing other black entrepreneurs talking to each other and like, okay, this is what's happening to me, how am I going to navigate this, and we solving problems together, like that's beautiful. And that's something I don't think I would have gotten back home. So I'm grateful to be like here in Charleston and Somerville area, because I've just met so many amazing people.
And I want to dig a little bit deeper on that, because I know some people, somebody listening, they may feel like I'm in my hometown, I really want to move out, but I may be a little bit fearful because I don't know how to go to a new place, establish roots, and meet new people. So can you talk about how you and your husband navigated that? Like you said, y'all didn't have any connections, y'all didn't know anybody. How did you do it?
I mean, honestly, I just got tired of just being in the house.
Honestly, I love it.
I was just like, you know, I love you, but I just want to see, you know, what this place is about. And so one thing that I think, a saying that I really live by is like, your vibe attracts your tribe. And so I noticed, like, when I started going to the places where, like, okay, what kind of people would I want to hang out with, and started going to, like, I see these events on Instagram or something, and I might not know nobody, but it puts me in a place where I can get to know people, right, or see if I want to get to know people, because I'm very Aquarius. I don't really want to be out meeting people.
But you're putting yourself out there,
right? And that's what you have to do. I actually shout out to Jessica Boyd, because she and her friend put together a natural hair pageant here in Charleston. They started in Columbia, and it was Naturally Crowned Charleston, or Naturally Crowned Columbia. But they had one here, and I just saw the like the post or something on Instagram, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. And I just had a baby and stuff. I'm pumping, and like, you know, we in rehearsals and stuff, and I'm like, hold on, y'all, I gotta go pump, and like, but it was just my way of like doing something different, because I've never done a pageant, and I actually, like, I got 3rd place, so I won something. Period. But I gained a lot more, because I have, like, one of my best friends. She has been tremendous here in terms of support, because we were in the same boat. We moved here around the same time, didn't know nobody, and we both did the pageant. Her name is Carmen. Shout out to Carmen. But she, like, we just became really good friends, and like us linking up like that, and then we're like, oh, this is happening, let's go together, and then eventually you start meeting new people, and then it just becomes authentic. Like, I wasn't out just trying to like, I want to go make some friends. I just got tired of
sitting in the house,
being in the house, and just not exposing myself to the city where I'm at. So you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and go outside for a little bit. For a little bit. For me,
I love that. Getting yourself outside of your comfort zone, and just, you know, like, one key thing that you said though was like just being genuine. Like, I don't necessarily like when people like try to force themselves on people, because I feel like that can come off a little bit like crazy. Like, sis, let's just let the relationship form organically. But I definitely think that using social media, like you said, Instagram, Eventbrite, whatever it is, looking at what's going on in your city, and then just pop
up. And you never know, like, you could form, you know, different business relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be like friendships or anything like that. It could be really intentional and profitable partnerships. And then sometimes you might actually just meet really cool people that you form really great bonds with, and just at least have that friendship, right? You know, but it's something. And then you'll meet some people who you meet them once and you'll never want to see them again, and that's fine. But you at least had that experience,
right? Absolutely. So y'all, right now we are currently at her store in Somerville, Motherland Essentials. As soon as I stepped in the door, I was like, oh my gosh, it smells so good in here. So can you tell my community, what is Motherland Essentials? How did you even get the idea to start your baby?
So we are a bath, body, and self-care lifestyle brand. We really focus on just the practice, incorporating your self-care practice in ways that are accessible. So every time we talk, you hear that buzzword of self-care, you picture somebody in a bubble bath or a tub and all that stuff. And me being a mother, and just overall a busy, like, I got stuff going on all the time. I don't have time for bubble baths all the time. I just moved into a new house, and I ain't got no tub in my bathroom, so I'm a little sad about that. But, you know, it's just finding ways to incorporate your self-care practice just in your everyday life. Like, those moments where you step out of the shower and you just put on our body butter. I wanted those scents to, you know, just set the tone for your day. Or at night, like when you put on our like lavender hydrating mist, I want you to, you know, feel relaxed and comfortable, and it's something that, it's just a little something for you that's like $20 or something. You know, it's not gonna break you. It's something that, especially in this economy where everything is so expensive,
absolutely,
you get to just have that little moment of something. So I wanted to create products that, you know, were accessible to, you know, people like me, because again, growing up in Bowling Green, we didn't have a Whole Foods and none of that stuff, and that's where you find a lot of like your plant-based kind of soaps and things like that that are good for you. And you notice, like, in neighborhoods that are predominantly black, we got dollar stores and stuff everywhere, which may not be stocked with the best products, but
right.
that's what we got, right? So it's important to me to at least create that accessibility so that we have access to these things. Even if, you know, if it's a soap bar that you get, it's something that's good for you.
I love that so much. So when you were starting your company, for one, you already said you just quit your job.
I just quit.
Like, I'm out of here. Do you remember the dollar amount that you had saved?
It was terrible, y'all. I know, because I think we had like just paid for something outrageous that just came out, and I think maybe we had like $200 or $300 in that thing. I had nothing. But the cool thing about soap making is that you can literally use like milk cartons and like boxes and stuff to like, that's your mold. Like it forces you to be creative, and like your materials and stuff that you get. When I was doing my formulation for my recipe, I picked stuff that one I could find easily, like olive oil. If I run out, I can go to the store and buy olive oil,
right,
or coconut oil or something like that. So my idea was like, in terms of like, if I'm teaching classes, I want you to be able to go out on your own and buy these products and not have to go to like a specialty store to get some of these ingredients and stuff.
Right.
So, and then also I was broke, so I only had so much money to start my batches of soap.
But there's power in that.
Exactly.
And in the, I'm sorry.
No, because I was broke.
In the beginning, before you even decided to create Motherland Essentials, were you already into soap making? Were you like, so talk to us, like, where did you get this inspo from?
So actually, in 2014, I was working at a bank, and I was pregnant with our second child, and we actually lost him, and we were 20 weeks into my pregnancy. And what really made me leave was, you know, I called my job and let them know what happened, and they were like, you know, we're sorry, you have 3 days of bereavement. So
3 days?
3 days of bereavement, because the laws here, like, basically, like, if he would have been born, then I would have been entitled to 6 weeks of like bonding time and maternity leave and stuff. But because I'm not bonding with him, I get 3 days of bereavement.
That is very sad.
So for me, it was just like 3 days.
Right.
Like, that is nothing.
Right.
But I had to come back because, you know, you have to be responsible. You got bills. You have all these things that you got to do. So I went back to work. And I immediately knew I was depressed. Like, you can feel depression,
the energy,
and you can feel it. And one thing about mental health that people really have to be more mindful of, especially if you're an employer, is that it's not like, you know, like a physical handicap where, like, obviously, like, if my leg was broken, maybe I'd have got more time to, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I lost my child,
right? And
I got 3 days to get over it and then come back to work.
And 3 days is nothing.
That's nothing. Like, you can't possibly get over something like that in 3 days. And then what made it worse was, like, you know, some of my coworkers were, you know, trying to be nice and gave me flowers and stuff and put flowers on my desk. And so all of my clients that I was dealing with is like, oh, is it your birthday? And so you're having to relive that all day.
Right.
And then, like, I had a client, I very much believe in, like, paying attention to, like, signs and stuff. And so I had a client who, she had a new baby, like, brand new baby, and I'm just looking at the baby, and I'm just, like, miserable. I'm, you know, happy that somebody got a baby, but I'm just miserable. And then my next client was, like, death certificate stuff that I have to deal with, and I'm just like, okay, like, this is not it, y'all.
And that's a lot on your mental.
It's a lot. And I just realized in that moment, I was like, these people do not care about me at all. Like, if I was to leave right now, they would have a replacement. So, you know, aside from creating these products that are accessible, I wanted to create a space where people were treated like people. Like, when you work here, you're not treated like, you know, oh, your mom just died? Okay, cool. You need to come back in 3 days. It's just not realistic. And, you know, with the understanding that, we have a business to run and we have deadlines and things like that. But at the core of it, you have to take care of people.
Yeah.
And you can't base all of your decisions on, like, your finances, on your financial position in your business. You have to invest in your people.
Yes.
So I was like, I ain't never gonna work in no space that does not value me. And I didn't feel like I was going to find a space, so I created that space.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard because these bills are real.
Right.
But it's worth it because I know that when somebody comes and works here, that they are going to feel like they're taken care of,
right,
and that they're seen. And if it's something that, you know, I can help with or whatever, then cool. But, you know, also, I just want people to feel like they're people when they work in a space. It's important.
I love that so much. And one thing that you said was like you have to value people. And I feel like you can definitely tell the difference between companies that value their people, aka like a Chick-fil-A, versus like a McDonald's. Like the customer service, the experience is just different.
It makes a difference.
And people, I just think are your greatest assets. Like we cannot push our visions further. We can't make our brands bigger than we are if we don't have a team of people.
Exactly. And I mean, I know a lot of people, like when I struggle with, like, one of the things for me is like I feel like I gotta do everything. And one of the things that entrepreneurship teaches you is that you are not doing everything. You can try if you want to.
Yeah.
But you're gonna be real upset and you're gonna burn out because it's just impossible to. You may be doing really well by yourself for a little while. That's not to say that somebody can't start a business and be really successful by themselves, but you can't possibly be mentally healthy and doing everything that needs to be done in a business, especially a product-based business where you have to focus so much on shipping and your customer experience and actually making product. Like, it's just so many moving parts that it doesn't make any sense for one person to have a handle on all of it. Now, you need to know what's going on, but you have to trust that people know what they're doing because you train them to do what they need to do.
Can you talk about the different levels to it though? Because I do believe in the beginning when you're just starting, you have to wear multiple hats.
Oh God, yeah.
But
you gotta wear multiple hats in any step of entrepreneurship, honestly. But I think, you know, when I just first started out, I was in my kitchen. You know, it was just me, and I was answering everybody's emails, and I was doing all the things because I wasn't at a point in my business where I was just getting all these orders and doing all of this stuff. And so once I started basically just doing markets and stuff like that. That's how I got to kind of be known and like people know who I am and all that
pop-up
stuff.
shops and
exactly. Like if there was a market, I was doing it. And I would do 2 markets in a day sometimes because one, I needed money, and 2, I needed people to see me and say like, and you know, ask me questions. And they may not be buying anything, but they'll at least see me consistently showing up.
Sowing seeds.
Yes. So, then I like kind of was picking up orders and like, oh, okay, some people want me in their shops. Okay, cool. I turned my garage into like my little studio area. And, you know, that was interesting because I'm still doing things by myself, but like things are picking up. So we have like Asia back here. Shout out to Asia May because that girl right there, she noticed like, that was one of the people like I met when I was just out, you know. And she just saw that I needed help. Because I post and do all of this and I look overwhelmed, and she was like, do you need help? And I was like, no, I'm good, I got it. And she was like, okay, what's your address? And you gave her the address, and she's over here. She just pops up, and she's,
shout out to the people who believe in your vision and show up. Yes, I love that.
She started doing, you know, probably setting up at markets for me, and then she'd come help me ship, and like that help that I was afraid to ask for, and somebody was just like, girl, shut up, I'm gonna help you. I mean, it was so needed. But she is, I think I want to credit her really so much for just opening my eyes to the fact that I needed the help, and not being afraid to ask for it. So with her, like, you know, my shipping times got better, we were doing all these things, and then I got an order just like a few years ago. It was like a couple years ago, 17,300 soap bar order.
Are you serious?
Yes. And
how did you feel?
I thought it was a typo. Honestly, I was like, so is it
17,000?
17,300 soap bar order for a subscription box.
Wow.
And they just And they found me because I was showing up consistently on Instagram. I was, I share my
Talk
content.
about God.
I mean, I
and
was
hard
like,
work.
Exactly. And during the pandemic, mind you.
Wow.
So it was, she was like, oh, okay, we not going to do that. And we definitely not going to do it here in this garage. But by that time, like, our business had been established and I'd saved up a lot of money. And I was already looking at spaces anyway, but I was like, I gotta get a space like now because I can't do that in my garage. Like, it's just not possible.
I can't even fathom making
it was
17.
Insane. It was so crazy.
Did you have to pull together a new set of people to help you fulfill that?
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God. Because during that time too, we had I have a 20-gallon tank now, but I didn't have that before. I had a 6-gallon tank that makes no soap at all.
Okay, break this down for me,
so
a kindergartner, because I don't know what you're talking about.
So we in soap making, you can, there's different types of methods you use to melt your oils and butters and things like that to do your soap making. So when I was in the kitchen, I had my pots and pans and stuff like that, and doing it that way. Which is fine when you're doing a couple batches at a time and stuff like that. But when you're doing volume, we don't have time to really just wait on things to set and do all of that stuff. So I invested in a tank when I was going into the garage. And so what's really cool about the wax melter and oil melter tanks is that they allow you to put your batch in there, put my whole recipe in there in bigger batches, so that I can just heat it up, get what I need, and go. It creates a lot more efficiency.
And less work on your behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the downside of that is when you have a big order like that and you got a little tank, you working like you got a little pot.
Yeah.
So at the time I only had the little one, and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna take all day. But we met our deadline with my little tank.
How long did you have to fulfill that?
They gave us a 2-month window. Okay. But the thing with soap making is it needs a month to cure. So I really only had a month to make the soap and, get the boxes and all of this, materials and everything that I needed to do. So I've never felt that much pressure in life. It was a lot, but it was great.
And I know it made you a better business owner.
It did, because it taught me to really just delegate.
Yeah.
And we had people, in here, they were assigned to, you put these in, you box the soaps, you cut the soaps. We had a little assembly line going.
Yeah. And
there was no way I was doing all of that by myself. Or even just us two. It just we would have died. It just would not have been cool.
Right.
So after getting that order, though, I was like, okay, we need a bigger space. And we've gotten to a point where people know us and people buy from us, and so I feel comfortable taking that risk of moving into a brick and mortar space.
Yeah.
But that was a huge step, because that overhead is a lot. It's a lot to deal with when you go from making soap in your house and you basically just paying your rent and you live there and stuff, to now I got mortgage and I got to pay rent over here.
Right.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So
can you talk about throughout growing your business, how long have you been in business?
We started in 2015. Okay. So it'll be 7 years ish. I don't know. I'm not good at math right now. I ain't had my coffee.
7-ish years coming up.
7-ish years.
So talk to me about the progression, from start to where you are now. Was everything that you touched always gold? Did you experience some challenges? I know it's probably a lot, but can you kind of piece together maybe some highlights?
When I first started making soap, and I only started making soap because I saw it on YouTube. It was during the time when I quit my job and I was just trying to focus. I didn't have access to a therapist, so I was just I've always been into just creativity and finding things that I could just keep my mind busy and just keep me creative. Yeah. And I found soap making. I love that it was just kind of a marriage between chemistry and art, because it's very much chemistry.
Yeah.
But it's just so beautiful just to see these oils and butters transform into something totally different. And so one thing that I did notice though was that there weren't a lot of black soap makers that were like, you know, prominent. And so for me, I was like, I don't really like, I mean, you know, the soap making community itself is very supportive of each other. But it's just that representation, I didn't see enough of it. So I was just like, I'm just gonna make soap. I'm gonna try it. My first batch, y'all, was terrible. Could not give it away. It was horrible.
What makes soap terrible though?
Oh, it was bad. Like my recipe was bad. It was like really, like it felt really oily.
Okay.
It was just not good, and it was ugly to me. Like somebody.
Because today, girl, your soap's popping.
I mean, but it took work.
Yeah,
it took work.
Yeah.
But my first batch, I could not give it away. It was just not good. But I didn't really let that discourage me at all. I just was like, okay, this is bad. How can I fix it? What is wrong here? And so I just did a lot more research and studied a lot more on like different properties of oils, like what does what and why is my bar so slimy feeling, and you know. And so once I worked that out, it was just kind of like, okay, just getting more comfortable with my batches and like how they move and stuff. So I got more confident in making bigger batches at a time. So it helped with, you know, my efficiency. It helped with just making things a lot better for me, because I'm not just making one loaf and then, you know, like 15 bars of soap. That's like not really worth a lot of my time. You know, so I just had to really go at it, because I could have been very discouraged. Like that bar was ugly, y'all. I wish I would have saved it so y'all could see.
But your persistence, and now years later, it has paid off.
Oh God, yeah.
So talk about like, even when you kind of got a handle on soap making, did you find it hard because you make the soap and you have to market and promote your business and just like do all the things?
I mean, for me, honestly, it was just, it didn't feel like work. Until I moved in here.
Until you moved to the new building?
I moved into this building, to be honest, because I'm now responsible for, you know, making sure somebody gets paid. I'm responsible for her livelihood. I'm responsible for making sure that this space stays here, so that people in this area and people who want to travel here can come here and have access to it. It just feels like a lot of pressure, because I'm feeling like our growth, and we're in that weird space of like, I'm not really scaling right now, but I'm just transitioning into this bigger space so that I can be more comfortable. Like if I want to walk into like a store and be like, I would like to be in this store, like a major store or something like that, I'm comfortable. But right now I'm just trying to get used to being a retailer, which is a totally different thing than me just making soap in my garage, you know. Like,
what's the difference?
So now, you know, I'm responsible for, like, we have other brands in here now. Like, we have BR and we have Graphic Anthology. We just have all these other brands who, like, people are seeing. And I have to reorder from them. And so, like, you know, that money they're depending on, too.
Right. And
then, you know, you just have, like, more costs to incur. Like, I'm paying more taxes than I want to pay. But you know, it's just a whole different level of issues money wise, you know. Whereas working in my house, I gotta pay my rent, you know, and I don't have a building to, you know, make compliant and all that kind of stuff. It's just a whole different level of responsibilities.
That was literally the word that was coming out of my mouth. Like more responsibilities.
More responsibilities, but it forces you to really just think about what you do, because what you do is not just affecting you anymore. You got people to look after now, so it's just like, whew, it's a lot.
I love that so much. So we talked about the progression. Now, Motherland Essentials today, how do you just continue showing up? How do you keep going? What tips or advice would you have for somebody that's listening to this and they may have a product-based business and they're not making the sales that they want to make, or like they just need some encouragement to keep going?
I would say, I think one thing that holds a lot of people back is that they are either afraid to ask for mentorship or don't want to pay for it.
Emphasis on, say the last part, don't want to pay for it.
Don't want to pay for it.
Because you have to invest in yourself.
Now, with that being said, you have to do your due diligence and vet people. Because there's a lot of people, especially when Clubhouse got popping, it was a lot of like, coaches and all kinds of stuff that was like ripping off other people's content and just regurgitating it. You have to really vet people and know that these people know what they're talking about. Ask questions and do not be afraid to be like, okay, I need to see, what you make, your gross net and all that kind of stuff. I need to see all of that before I hand you my money because it is an investment. I got very lucky. I'm very fortunate that Pamela Booker, who is the owner of Quills by Nature, she is an amazing mentor to me.
Yeah.
And she actually set up my Klaviyo. She helped set up my email marketing. And one thing that's done is just really helped to streamline, my customer interactions. It's gotten me paid because people don't understand that there's so much power in like talking to people through your emails. They give you your emails, talk to them. But don't hound them. Just talk to them.
Yeah. It's regular people.
Exactly. But she is the one that like she just really is so giving when it comes to her knowledge. And as long as you are willing to do the work, you're good. She's gonna do what she needs to do to help you.
Yeah. And
you need that. But if you don't have a relationship with somebody, you need to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you do have a relationship with somebody, actually, you need to pay because everybody got bills.
And getting mentorship, it expedites your process. You are paying for not just their time, but all of the mistakes that they made.
Right.
So you don't have to make those mistakes.
Exactly.
I think it's so much power in investing in yourself and investing in a mentor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when you find one that you're really in alignment with. Like, oh my God, I can't tell you how much money she saved me.
Yeah.
And made me just by like, don't do that, girl. Don't do that. Or, maybe you should try it this way. Or maybe you should do this. Like, are these products, take your 2 or 3 least selling products and bundle them together and make a whole little, stuff like that you don't even think about. That's so simple. And that puts money in your pocket because you just genuinely, one thing that I'm very blessed with is that I have people around me that are really looking out for me and just supportive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need that. But if you don't have a mentor, go around people who, if you see somebody on Instagram, don't be afraid to like be like, hey, I'm so and so.
I am the slide in your DM queen.
Slide in them DMs.
Okay. I slid in your DMs.
You did. and look at this.
Right. Right.
Just say simple. Just talk to somebody and just be like, hey, I want to talk to you. I would like to connect with you. And just see where it goes. It's the worst they can do is be like, nah, get out of my face.
And I will say there's an etiquette to that because I hate when people just, slide in my DM and immediately just ask for something.
Right.
Like, just say, hey, so-and-so, I hope you are doing well. I am inspired by XYZ. I love what you're doing. Like, don't just jump in there just, immediately asking for what you want. Now, I will say be intentional about it, but it has to be a give and take as well when you're reaching out to people.
Be intentional.
Right, absolutely.
And genuine about your interactions with people. That gets you far. That gets you farther than to acting like you got it together. If you ain't got it, you don't got it, and that's fine. That's also a thing. There's a lot of people who you want to be your mentor who you may not be able to afford.
Yeah.
Just let them know, like, hey, at this point, this is where I'm at financially. If you have, payment plans that we can work out, cool. But if you want to just at least let me know your rate so I know what to, work up to. Yeah. Then that's a goal that you have already set for yourself to work with this person. This is how much it's gonna cost me. So I got to figure out how to get this.
Right.
Don't ever exclude yourself from things because of money, though.
Yeah.
Like, you can work it out.
Because you never know what opportunities are just on the other side of you opening your mouth and explaining what it is. Before we go into our Soulful section, is there anything else that you would like to share about Motherland Essentials, about how you built your brand from the ground up?
I'm just going to say that we are here in Somerville. I'm going to give y'all the address. It's 405 North Maple Street. We're in Suite B1 in Somerville, South Carolina. This is like a new area, so a lot of people, it's hard to find us, but it's important that if you see Black-owned businesses, especially Black women-owned businesses, that you come and consistently support.
Yeah.
Because we really just depend on people. Like, we are not funded by, we don't have like investors, we don't have stuff like y'all are our investors.
Yes.
So it's important that you all continue to pour into us so that we can continue to do what we do for you all. It's important to just show up.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep continuing to show up for you guys too. So come here when we're open.
Let's get into our soul food section. So everybody listening, y'all know I'm a very country girl from King Street, South Carolina. I come from a family that can cook really good, so I love me some soul food. So Andrea, what is your favorite soul food dish?
Oh my God. So because I'm from Kentucky, I don't know if y'all would consider this a soul food dish, but I really like frog legs.
Girl.
Is that not? I mean, to me, because that's what. Now, Kentucky is very country. We are very country. So we would have like, like our rabbit and, like, rabbit. Like,
girl, I've never even had frog legs.
Listen, frog legs are good.
It tastes
like chicken. It tastes like chicken. They just smaller.
I have to put that on my list to try.
But because I'm very country, that's what we had, like rabbit and rice and gravy and stuff like that. Like, it was just, it's good.
Okay.
Very country, very Kentucky.
I'm here for it. So next question, a crock pot story. I feel like right now we live in a very microwavable age where people want things instantly. Can you give me a crock pot story? A time in your life or in your business where something had to like slow cook?
I mean, basically this whole business, really.
Yeah.
Mainly because I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go into, but I had different ideas of like, I need to be in a Target, I need to be doing all of this stuff because I saw like other business owners doing that.
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is you have to run your race and really have your own journey.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I learned too, because a lot of these opportunities that come to you, they come when you're ready.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like I have a lot of my friends who've been like on Good Morning America and stuff like that, and I'm very happy for them. But I think if that happened for me right now, it wouldn't be like a happy occasion, really, because I just don't feel like I'm in a space where I'm prepared for that, because I don't have like, my, just like the people in place and all that to handle all that stuff. It would just be stressful. So I think things come to you when they're supposed to. So I think just being in this space, going from our kitchen to the garage to here, that's definitely a crock pot story right there, because there's a lot of business owners who are maybe 6-7 years in and they're in a Target already, and I'm not, and that's okay.
Right.
I'm exactly where I want to be, and that's what's important.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And you do not want your blessing to turn into a burden. Right. So you have to be prepared. I really love that you shared that. So the next one, your go-to. What is something that keeps you motivated, keeps you up? When you have that go-to soul food meal, like, it just never disappoints. So what is it that keeps you running?
I think because I'm also an Aquarius, we want to save the world, but not like be around so many people doing it. I think just my motivation to see people who, like Black people, especially Black women, feel liberated and having access to like just little joys. Yeah. Like we don't have the opportunities a lot to celebrate joy or to even think about it, because so much of our history is trauma. But
talk about it.
It's just like, I mean, all of what we see is a lot of trauma, but there's also so much joy in the Black community, and I just want to be a part of what that's like. Just taking a shower, that's a joyful moment to me, because it's a moment where I ain't got to do nothing but focus on me and be in some water and just feel like, Absolutely. And so just stuff like that is just bringing joy to people in ways that you don't even have to think about. That's what really keeps me going.
Yes. So the next question, the itis. When you eat a real good meal, you get sleepy, you want to lay down in that chair. What is something that you're tired of seeing? It can relate to personal finance, entrepreneurship, life. What are you tired of seeing?
I think I am tired of seeing the whole fake it till you make it thing. Because it's 2022. Yeah. we all should just be honest and transparent and authentic about our experiences.
Absolutely.
You know, and not leave these impressions to business owners that are coming up that like you have to have a 6, 7, 8, 9-figure brand to be successful. Success looks so different to everybody. It's very subjective, and so putting that amount of pressure on yourself to show up in spaces where one, you're not welcome a lot of times, people don't want you there because you know you're trying to keep up appearances, like it's not necessary.
Right.
So
just be you.
Be yourself. You know, and a lot of things come to you when you are. All the right things come to you when you are. When you're trying to be something else, you might have those opportunities, but you'll find that you'll be surrounded by people more people you don't want to be around.
Yeah.
So
and it's not sustainable.
No,
you can't keep up and act forever. Like I just believe either you're gonna get tired or they're gonna find out that you're a fraud.
Right.
Like one of the two.
And it's just not, the fallout ain't cute. We in the age of the internet where folks is on Twitter flaming folks up. People's whole careers is going in flames.
Exactly.
On Twitter.
For no reason.
For no reason.
So our last question, this is good. So you know when you take that first bite, for me it's yams. Like I love yams. And if they super good, I'll bite into them. I'm like, this is good. So can you give us our final words of wisdom? This is good for everybody that is listening.
So I would just say, you know, run your own race. Be in your own journey. It's always hard to run your business when you're looking, you know, all over the place.
Right.
And not really being inspired by what is actually moving you. What's right for you and what's yours is yours. And you can't base success, like somebody else's success, on like where you should be in life. It's just not, it's not realistic, and it just drives you crazy. So one thing that I think that has made us stand out as a brand is that we are very transparent about what we go through.
Yeah.
I think I had an Instagram story where I was crying and you know, and I was crying because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna pay my rent this month, because that's real. And I, in that moment, I felt like I am a failure, and that's real. Everybody has those moments, especially when you're an entrepreneur. So don't be afraid to embrace those moments and lean on your community and ask for the help that you need, but be authentic. Be real and be genuine, and be there for other people like they're there for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show. Girl, you poured into me. I learned so much just from this past 45, 50 minutes. So I just want to give you your flowers and tell you to keep going. Like, you have been one of my biggest inspirations, and just watching, for one, her video content on Instagram, baby.
I tried.
The storytelling, the behind the scenes, just everything. And I really feel like being on the outside looking in, it makes us feel like we're a part of the brand. So I appreciate you for doing all that you're doing, and just being an inspiration for all the young Black girls who are looking up to you as well.
I want to thank you for reaching out and just, you know, having me here. Because slide in the DMs, y'all, because that's what she did.
Sure did.
And she was just like, I want to talk to you. Can we talk? And I mean, I'm so glad that we did, because you were just, and this is what you're doing is so amazing and so important. We need a lot more Black publications to, you know, to share our experience as Black entrepreneurs, because sometimes people don't get it. But having these conversations is important. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for tuning back in to another episode on the Responsible Homegirl podcast. And always remember, with exposure, execution, and consistency, there is nothing you can't do. See y'all next time.